Thursday morning dawned with an unusual buzz in the air, and though it was a weekday, campus felt like a weekend already. Everywhere Aisha turned, she heard the same conversation, the same excitement. Jambite night. Aisha sat under the wide shade of an old tree, her mind on anything but the party. She didn't understand why anyone seemed so obsessed. Sure, it was good to have fun and let off steam when you're young, especially in the university, but it's important not to get carried away. Aisha was of the school of thought that you should pass through school and let school pass through you without losing yourself in the fleeting pleasures around. She was mulling over her thoughts when she noticed her friend Aminat walking towards her. Something in Aminat's expression felt different, unusually serious as she approached.
Aminat, what's going on? Why do you look so serious?
Aisha asked casually, her brows furrowing with concern. Aminat handed her a folded piece of paper.
Someone asked me to give you this,
she said, lowering her voice as if the note held a secret. Aisha reached out, skeptically unfolding the paper. She scanned the words and her heart skipped a beat.
This is not a joke. Your life is in danger. You can reach me on this number. Call me, Alex.
Her hand shook slightly as she read and reread the message, the stark words pressing onto her mind. Looking up at Aminat, who was already studying her with curious, worried eyes.
Aisha, what is it? Is it something serious?
Aminat asked, sensing the weight of the message. Aisha looked away, still grappling with the reality of the note. Who was Alex and why did he think her life was in danger? She had lived her life with careful boundaries, always staying in her own lane, moving in groups and brushing off unnecessary attention. The thought that she might have done something to provoke someone seemed unthinkable. But as Aisha folded the note, a shiver ran down her spine. She felt Aminat's eyes on her, waiting for a response. But instead of speaking, Aisha just shook her head. In his dorm room, Alex paced back and forth, his stomach tied in knots. Every possible scenario replayed in his mind. His plan to pass the notes to Aisha was risky, to say the least. He had done his best to be discreet, but what if her friend had dropped it or ignored it? What if Aisha read it and thought it was just some stupid prank? He clenched his jaw, pushing down the urge to scream. Every second that passed without a call from her only increased the dread clawing at his mind. Lost in thought, Alex didn't notice the door creak open until Jibo stepped inside, catching him mid-pace. He froze, trying to compose himself as Jibo's eyes scanned him with sharp curiosity.
Alex, you're looking tense. What's up?
Jibo asked, a slight smirk playing on his lips as he tossed his bag onto the bed.
Nothing.
Alex replied, forcing a smile.
Just a lot on my mind.
Jibo tilted his head, watching Alex closely. He knew Jibo could read him like a book, which made it almost impossible to keep his plan a secret. Alex had considered telling Jibo about his intentions to warn Aisha, but quickly discarded the idea. Jibo's loyalty to the Brotherhood was absolute, and he'd once warned Alex that in their world, forgiveness was a sin. He wouldn't be open to the idea of rescuing Aisha. In fact, he'd probably report Alex if he got wind of it. Clearing his throat, Jibo snapped Alex out of his thoughts.
There is an important meeting later tonight, by the way, at Auntie P's drawing,
he said, his tone casual but with a dark edge. Alex nodded, forcing himself to appear calm. He'd heard rumors about the Brotherhood's plan for the Jambite night, but he'd never guessed the full extent. All he knew was the Brotherhood intended to harm Aisha in the worst way, and the thought sickened him. That night, back in her room, Aisha sat on her bed, staring at the note, her mind swirling with questions. She tried to piece together who Alex could be, why he had reached out to her, and what he meant by danger. Was it a prank? A scare tactic? But then, who would go to such lengths just to get her attention? As the night wore on, Aisha's eyes kept drifting back to the note lying on her bed. Her fingers itched to pick up her phone and dial the number, but a mix of caution and pride held her back. She had always been so careful, always staying in her lane, never venturing into anything risky. And now she was caught in a dilemma, facing something she couldn't fully understand. She reached for the note one more time, running her fingers over the words. Her mind wrestled with whether to call or ignore it. Meanwhile, the Brotherhood meeting was underway. Gathered at the Auntie beer joint with a bubbly atmosphere and an unsuspecting secrecy, the Black Belt members laid out their plan for Jambites night. Their leader's voice cut through the murmur of low conversations, his tone icy and unwavering.
Tomorrow night, Aisha gets what's coming to her,
He said, his words sending chills down Alex's spine. He had to keep his face blank, had to pretend that he was on board with their plans.
To make things easier, Alex, you will be one of the first guys to approach her.
The leader added, his gaze piercing. Alex felt his heart pound, but he gave a quick nod. Inwardly, he was screaming, fighting every instinct that told him to stand up and refuse. If only Aisha would just call him, he thought, the desperation building as the minutes ticked by. He needed to be sure she got his message. As the meeting concluded, Alex and Jibo walked back to their room in silence. With each step, Alex's mind raced, trying to plot a new course. He had the faintest hope that maybe somehow Aisha would understand the seriousness of the note and contact him before it was too late. But Jibo's watchful eyes were on him, unrelenting.
Guy, you seem distracted.
Jibo remarked, studying Alex's face. Alex shrugged, trying to sound casual.
Just thinking about tomorrow.
Jibo's eyes narrowed.
And what about it?
Alex forced a laugh.
Not so much. Don't worry.
As they entered their room, Alex's phone suddenly vibrated, the shrill sound breaking the silence. He jumped, the sound of the phone ring startling him briefly. For a moment, he saw Jibo's face turn inquisitive, his gaze sharp as he watched Alex.
Who's calling you at this hour?
Jibo asked, his voice casual but laced with suspicion. Alex felt a surge of panic. He knew he couldn't afford to answer the call with Jibo in the room, but if he didn't, he might miss his only chance to connect with Aisha. He hesitated, hand hovering over the phone in his pocket as it continued to ring, each second stretching into an eternity. Jibo's gaze bore into him, waiting for him to pick his call. In that moment, 1,000 thoughts raced through Alex's mind. Should he answer and risk exposing his intentions? Should he let it ring, potentially losing his one chance to keep Aisha safe? The ringing stopped, leaving a deafening silence in its wake. On a second ring, Jibo raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical.
Guy, won't you pick your call?
Jibo suspects that Alex is up to something. He just couldn't tell what it might be. For all he knew, those guys that bullied him on campus no longer did. So, what could be making him tensed up in this manner? Why is Alex ignoring this call? Jibo stares at Alex, curious to find out who is on the other side of the line. Alex intentionally ignores the persistent ring because he doesn't want Jibo to get in on his plan. Nonetheless, picking this call is inevitable as Jibo could get irritated and snatch the phone from him if he continues to ignore the interruption. What next? Find out in the next episode. Thanks for watching and bye for now.